Where are people from New York buying in Florida? What are some of the hottest areas in Florida to buy in? My name is Sills. I'm a licensed realtor here in Central Florida, but I used to live in New York. I lived in New York from 1989 to 2012. Love it in Florida. Lots of my friends were relocating here before COVID, but during COVID, with COVID, we're still in COVID, right? All of this is still going on, and people want to relocate to Florida. Why? Because of our beautiful weather. Because I'm able to be outside in January looking like this. No jacket, no scarf, none of that stuff. That's why people want to move here. So what are some of the happening areas? Where should we be moving to? If we're moving to Florida, what are the areas we want to be in, right? If we have school-age kids, what are the areas? Are we going to homeschool? Are we doing virtual school? Do we want the kid to actually go to school? That's a big question for parents right now who have school-age kids, right? There are more and more virtual schools popping up now, especially in Florida, I know for a fact. And people are beginning to wonder, should I have my kids in school? Should I homeschool them, or should I just do virtual school? There are literal virtual schools now that are accredited, and was before COVID, but even now more than ever. So what are some of the areas I want to live in? Do I want to live near Disney World? Do I want to live near the beaches? What do I want to do? Well, because I'm a licensed realtor here in Central Florida, I do have network all over Florida, but I live in Central Florida, and I've lived here since 2012. I would like to think Central Florida is a happening area to move to. Why? Well, what is Central Florida, right? Central Florida is where Disney World is, but there's so much other aspects of Central Florida, right? People think of Central Florida and they think of Orlando or Disney World. And the funny thing is, Disney World is actually in Kissimmee near Lake Buena Vista. It's not even in Orlando, but that's the airport you use to get there, right? That's kind of how that is. Like, if you're going to the Bronx and you took LaGuardia, right? You came into LaGuardia from the airport, which is Queens, and you're going to drive over to the Bronx. Something like that, but there's no bridges. But here's the deal, guys. The reason why I love Central Florida is you're centrally located, which means where we are an hour away from the Gulf Coast beaches or the Atlantic side beaches. So that means we're an hour to an hour and a half away from Daytona Beach. We're an hour away from Tampa, right? So we could get to a beach, and the reason why we don't want to be too close to the coast is because of the hurricanes. Now, I've been here since 2012, and I think we only had we had one serious hurricane. I think it was Hurricane Matthew, I believe. It really didn't hit us that hard, but it caused some damages on the coast, right? And then we had one that damaged Key West a lot more. So I always had this image of having a house on the beach, right? I would love to have a house or a condo on the beach. But what I've realized is the insurance for having a house on the beach is crazy ridiculous. You have to pay for flood insurance. There's no way around it. So I'm like, maybe I should have a condo on the beach, right? A condo on the beach is a big condo, right? But then you have to make sure that the condo building is secure and sturdy, because look at what happened in Miami a few months ago. The building collapsed. My goodness, right? That had nothing to do with the hurricane. Had everything to do with the way they maintained that property, right? It was all about building maintenance. So that property could have fallen anywhere in the world. Just so happened to have been in Miami, right? So I like Central Florida because it reminds me of upstate New York. Well, not upstate New York. The last place I lived was Monroe, New York, in Orange County. And Central Florida kind of reminds me of that, in that it's kind of like Monroe is about an hour outside of New York City, right? So Central Florida is like centrally located. We have different areas here. We have Orlando, we have Kissimmee, Claremont, Davenport, Winter Haven, Winter Springs, Winter Garden. Guess what? There's an area called Windermere that Shaq, right? Shaq O'Neal, he has a house in Windermere. Tiger Woods used to have a house in Windermere. I think he gave it to his wife or something like that. So there's a lot of celebrities that live in the Windermere area, right? Just like there's a lot of celebrities that live in Miami. So Central Florida have its own little celebrity section as well. We have places on the outskirts of us, like we have Groveland, we have Leesburg. There's so many areas. Whether you want to be more in the country, rural area, or if you want to be more in the city, in the now, Central Florida has all of that to offer. And the location you choose is going to be based upon your lifestyle, right? If you have kids and you're like, we want to be close to Disney but not in the middle of Disney, we have that. If you're like, we want to be close to the beach but we don't really want to be close enough to the beach so that if there's a hurricane, we have to worry about our home being blown away, right? Because the more central you come in Florida, the less likely to be affected by the hurricane, which is why I like it. And how did I choose Central Florida when I was relocating from New York? Was I followed the mouse, Mickey Mouse, of course, right? Because I used to come here twice a year for Disney, for my kids and everything. And when I was moving, my friends were like, well, why are you going to Central Florida? You could go anywhere else. You're gonna live there now. I'm like, I know, right? So I started to look at Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm Beach, and other areas, and I realized, you know what? Seems like when the hurricane comes, it doesn't hit the central part of the area like it hit the coast, right? So every time there's a hurricane coming to Florida, the first thing they start talking about is Miami and Key West and all the areas that are on the coast. So I'm like, you know what? If I live in Florida, I could always drive to the coast on a weekend or for a day trip or whatever I want to do, but I don't have to necessarily live on the coast, right? Because I don't want to have to get extra insurance and flood insurance and all this crazy stuff and lose all my personal items when the hurricane comes and all that great stuff. So that's the reason why I chose Central Florida, and that's why I would recommend Central Florida. Now, of course, if you want to do Miami or Fort Lauderdale or Boca Raton or Clearwater or Tampa or Syracuse, not Syracuse, that's in New York. I mean Sarasota, where Siesta Keys is. We also have agents that work those areas as well. But any of the Central Florida kind of area tend to be nicer. I tend to prefer the Gulf side, which is the Clearwater, Tampa, Siesta Keys, Fort Myers, Naples kind of side of the beaches, because they're calmer. But of course, if you want to be more, if you're into surfing and all that great stuff, we have Miami, Fort Lauderdale, we have Palm Coast, and going all the way up to Daytona, which is the Atlantic side, right? So you choose your side, or you can go to Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach is about an hour away from you guys. So people are moving based upon their lifestyle, what they want to do, what they want to be close to. If you want to be within an hour to the beach, we could make it happen. If you want to be within an hour to Disney World, we could make that happen. If you want to be in Florida, but you want to be in a more residential area and you don't want to remember that there's any tourists coming to Disney, we could make that happen too. If you want to be more in a rural area where you want to be able to maybe plant some things, like people do come and say, I want to be able to plant a garden or something like that. I want to be in the country but not too rural. We could also make that happen. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what you need to know if you're going to relocate here, right? Because some people don't know all that stuff. If you're looking to relocate here, you are going to want to make sure, you're going to have to figure out if you have a virtual job, and it doesn't matter where you live, then it doesn't matter about job, right? Because you could live anywhere, right? And you'll still get financing from the bank if you want to get a mortgage. If you want to get a mortgage and you're relocating here and you have to find a job here, then you need to find the job here first before you relocate, because the bank is going to want to know how you're going to pay back the mortgage if you're financing for a mortgage, right? So what you want to do is you want to find a job here first and get a job letter with the intent of the date that you're going to start working here. And that will help you to qualify for a mortgage. So if you're relocating here and you already have a job here or you have a job letter here, then you're able to apply for a mortgage as an owner occupant, right? If you want to buy a house here but you're not ready to retire here, you don't really want to retire yet, maybe you want to buy the house and use it as an Airbnb or short-term rental so you could rent it out to people when you're not here. If you're going to do that, then the area has to be zoned for short-term rental. You can't just get a home and say, well, if when I'm not living there, I'm just going to do short-term rental. Florida's a little bit different, so you have to get it in an area that is zoned for short-term rental that will allow you to Airbnb, Verbi, all that great stuff, and we also do that as well, right? And at that point, you'd need 20% down, 15 to 20% down if you're going to finance it, right? And then the bank is going to take the potential income to help you to qualify for that home. So if you want to buy a home, like for instance, I bought my first home in Florida in 2007 while I was still living in New York, because the intention was to use it as a short-term rental and have a property management company take care of it while I was still in New York. And then eventually when I moved there, I moved in the very same property before I bought another property. The lesson I learned with that though is where the property was, it was very touristy. It was like 15 minutes from Disney World, right? So when I moved there and I'm driving home and we got into deal with tourists and the busy season and all that stuff, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, this is a beautiful house and everything, but I don't want to be with the tourists if I'm living here, right? Because then it becomes frustrating with the traffic, right? So then we move someplace else. So it depends upon what you want. You could buy something too that's not too close to Disney, like a half an hour away, which you won't be dealing with too much traffic, which is still zoned for short-term rental. So there's a lot of possibilities. So where you're moving to is going to depend upon what you want to achieve, what your lifestyle look like. And we invite you to give us a call or send me a text 407-791-4713. Let me know if you're planning to relocate here, what areas you're thinking of, and I'll be able to direct you if you have kids, if you don't have kids, if you send them to school, if you're going to homeschool them, or if you're going to do virtual school with them. You figure that out. Now, behind me here is a pool, right? There's a pool, and this is a screen that is placed over most of the pools in Florida. People call it a cage, and people call it all kinds of different things, right? I thought it was cool before I moved here because I saw it and I'm like, oh my god, that's a great way to not have mosquitoes and, you know, the insects come at you. So I thought it was a great idea. And that's the reason why most pools in Florida will have this screen, is because it protects you from the insects and all that other stuff that goes outside, right? And it keeps the pool cleaner, because remember guys, there's dust and dirt and all kind of stuff blowing every day, and believe it or not, dirt still gets through these screens, believe it or not. So just imagine if the screen wasn't there. The only exception to that is if you're living on a golf course, like if you have a golf home, you're living around, like say Reunion, which is a golf course community. If you're in a golf course community, then you wouldn't have the screen, because if your home is on the golf course, they don't allow you to screen it. But if it's on the golf course, you'll probably end up with a screen. Some people, there's a few people that don't screen their home, their pool. Power to them. They must be maintaining it once a week, I guess. Once a day. Ours is maintained once a week. Once a day, because you need that. You need the protection of the screen. I wanted to bring that into the video because people ask me a lot of questions about this. Where is that bird cage? Do I have to have something with a screen over my pool? I would say you want to, right? So thank you so much for listening. My name is Sandy Sills. I'm with the Giff Group. I'm a licensed realtor here in Central Florida. I lived in New York for many years before I relocated here, and I'd like to help you to do your relocation. If you're thinking of relocating from wherever it is to Florida, best option you'll ever have, best decision you'll ever make. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.